Today, we have an awesome opportunity to review something that was sent down to us from our friends up at Carcajou Tactical, additions onto their new product line. We've been sitting here messing with it for a while, and we're going to go through how we found the best way to attach these new 3D leaves that they've started producing over at Carcajou Tactical. What do you think about these 3D leaves and kind of the different garnish that you've seen on your Badger Shroud or my Badger Shroud before? They have the Ghillie garnish, they have the normal string ones, the longer ones. Like, why do you think these 3D leaves are going to be so effective, and what have you kind of recognized so far with putting some on our Badger Shroud construction here today?
Yeah, so they're super easy to use, and you can kind of do whatever you want with them that works for you. You can let it lay flatter and let it flap in the wind. You can use it for whatever you want and what you're going for.
So these 3D leaves are really adding a three-dimensional, like it says, a 3D leaf, because when you have everything else, it's going to be draping down, which is two-dimensional up and down. But now when you look at it from the side, it's 3D, right? Yep. So is that kind of like, how beneficial is that as far as like sniping and stalking and vegging up and adding dimensional layers into?
It's super beneficial because when you're sitting in a hide site, you're sitting steady. What you're going to see a lot of times is the outline of a man, right? You're going to see the arms, the shoulders, the back, the head. You're going to see some sort of shape that doesn't belong and doesn't fit. But once you start adding these and you make these little, what we call sniper blossoms, it's going to help break up that outline a whole lot. You're not going to work as hard to break up that outline. So what we see a lot with other like burlap and all that stuff, what happens is when it gets muddy and wet, it clumps. It retains water, retains moisture. If you don't let it dry, it's going to get moldy. You know, it's just going to get nasty. With this stuff, you could go jump in a pond with this right now. Like, the water's going to bead off of it. I think it's just a better solution.
So what we're going to do here is we've started attaching some here. We're going to go through, or I'm going to have Josh go through and start attaching some of these. And he's going to talk about a couple of the best practices that we've found. They give you a nice package of zip ties that come with it, are brown. Obviously, we can grab these over here, and Josh will show you we can cut off the excess and cut that off. And now you're getting rid of that shiny part, and all you're left with is a nice little sniper blossom from their 3D leaves. But Josh is going to go through and talk about some best practices of how he's clumping them together, folding them over. You can even combine two and layer them together so you get real kind of like unique pattern, because you don't want to create a pattern. You want to have the opposite of a pattern. So Josh will talk about how he's using the zip ties and tying them on. But this is a great product so far, and I'm excited to see you vegged up, and also just kind of like with a naked eye, see what it actually looks like and compared to my Carcajou Badger Shroud that doesn't have it. So I think it'll be a good comparison for us to look at.
When you're doing this, there's not any one particular way you have to do it. There's no real defined way. You do what works for you. So to attach these, you're going to grab one. I like to kind of fold it over itself. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be off, to one side, however you want to do it. Just generally fold it in half. I like to take it, bunch it together, kind of do one fold that way, maybe one fold this way, maybe one that way. And you see how it kind of gives it some kind of structure to poke out with. That way it's not just laying flat. You're getting that sniper blossom. So at that point, I'll grab a zip tie. I'll find that clump that I made, and I'll start working it through and weaving it through the center. Then I like to take it and do it again and put it right back on itself. You just got to kind of move it around, poke it through, and I'll pull it tight. That way it retains. Find the spot I want to put it. Say down here. I'm going to put it through maybe about 3 holes, right? So I'll leave an empty one in the center. Give it something to grab onto, and then zip tie it on. Now you have that nice, pretty little sniper blossom.
So these 3D leaves are really adding a three-dimensional, like it says, a 3D leaf, because when you have everything else, it's going to be draping down, which is two-dimensional up and down. But now when you look at it from the side, it's 3D, right?
Ghillies are pretty versatile. Everybody has their own way of doing them. Just do what works for you, what works for your environment, and get out and use it. That's the only way you're going to realize what works for you.